Take a breath. No, a real one. Feel the air, feel the weight of the chair beneath you, because what we are about to discuss requires you to be entirely present. You've come here looking for a fantasy, haven't you? You've been sold a story about the experienced woman, the one who is all silk sheets, expensive wine, and a lack of drama. You think it's an easy road, a shortcut to a more refined kind of pleasure, but you've been lied to. Welcome to the space where we strip away the illusions. I am not here to give you a manual on how to win. I am here to show you the mirror if you have ever wondered why a woman of substance, a woman who has lived, loved, and survived, seems to look right through you. Tonight is the night you find out why. We are diving into the brutal, beautiful, and often devastating reality of dating the older woman. This isn't a game for boys playing at being men. This is the arena. Look at her. Truly look at her. She moves with a stillness that is terrifying, doesn't she? That stillness comes from a place you haven't reached yet. It's the silence of someone who no longer needs to audition for your approval. When a younger girl looks at you, she sees a project. She sees potential. She sees a maybe. But a woman who has weathered the seasons, she sees exactly who you are right now, in this very second. She isn't interested in who you might be in 5 years. She doesn't have 5 years to waste on a maybe. She deals in the brutal currency of the present. And the first thing you need to understand, the thing that will make your blood run cold if you're honest with yourself, is that she doesn't actually need you. She has the career, she has the home, she has the vibrator, she has the peace of mind that she fought a war to obtain. So when you walk into her life, you aren't filling a void, you are a choice. And if you aren't bringing something more valuable than the peace you found in her solitude, she will watch you leave with the same calm smile she used to welcome you. That is the first truth. You aren't the prize. Her peace is the prize, and you are just a guest. Think about the way she watches you when you speak. Have you noticed it? She isn't just hearing your words. She's dissecting the vibration of your voice. She's looking for the cracks in your confidence. She's waiting to see if you'll blink first. Most men, they start talking too much. They try to fill the silence with their accomplishments, their cars, their bravado. They try to impress her. What a mistake. To her, your bragging sounds like a child crying for attention. She doesn't want your resume. She wants to know if you can handle her intensity without flinching. She wants to know if you can lead her, not because you're louder, but because you're deeper. The brutal reality is that most men are emotionally shallow compared to a woman who has been through the fire. You're bringing a glass of water to a woman who has survived the ocean. Do you see the problem? She is seductive because she is dangerous. Dangerous to your ego, dangerous to your comfort zone. Because once you've been seen by a woman like that, once you've tasted a connection that isn't built on games, but on raw, unfiltered truth, you can never go back to the shallow end of the pool. Are you ready to stop being a boy? Are you ready to face the heat? Let's talk about the silence. Most men are terrified of it. When they sit across from a woman who has seen the world, they feel the need to fill every gap. They throw their achievements into the void like they're trying to build a wall between themselves and her gaze. They talk about the car, the promotion, the hustle. Stop. You're suffocating her. You see, a woman of depth, a woman who has already built her own empire, no matter how small or large, isn't looking for a provider in the way a 20-year-old is. She already provides for herself. She has the thread count she likes, the wine she prefers, and a bank account that doesn't tremble at the end of the month. This is the brutal reality. Your money is not a superpower here. It is the bare minimum. When you realize she doesn't need your wallet, a strange thing happens to your ego. It starts to shrink, you feel naked. If you can't buy her interest, what do you actually have to offer? This is where the intimacy begins, or where it dies. She is looking for the one thing she cannot buy. She is looking for presence. She is looking for a man who can walk into her sanctuary and not be intimidated by the fact that she doesn't need him to be there. Can you imagine that? To be wanted but not needed. It is the most seductive dynamic in existence, because when she touches you, it isn't out of obligation or a search for security. It's out of a raw, primal preference. She chose you out of a sea of noise because you were the only one who didn't blink when she showed you her strength. But here is the sting, the brutal part of the truth that no one tells you. Because she is self-sufficient, her standards for your character are astronomically high. She doesn't have the patience to fix you. She isn't your mother, and she certainly isn't your therapist. If you bring your insecurities into her bed, she will feel them like a cold draft under the door, and she will shut it. She has spent years learning how to be alone without being lonely. She has curated a life of peace. If you are work, if you are drama, if you are an unresolved boy in a man's suit, you are a threat to her peace. And she will protect that peace with a ruthlessness that will leave you breathless. Do you know what happens when you finally stop trying to impress her? When you finally let go of the alpha mask and just exist, that's when the seduction starts. When you can look at her, really look at her, and see the woman behind the success. The girl who survived the heartbreak, the soul that is still hungry for a connection that isn't transactional. Most men are too busy looking at her age or her status to see her. They treat her like a trophy or a challenge to be conquered, but she's already been conquered by life and she's already conquered it back. She doesn't want to be won. She wants to be understood. And that, my friend, is the most difficult task of all, because to understand her, you have to understand yourself. You have to be okay with the fact that she might earn more than you. You have to be okay with the fact that she has a past, a rich, complicated, sexy past that you weren't a part of. Can you handle that? Or does the thought of her previous lovers, her previous lives, make your chest tighten? If it does, turn back now, because she will smell that jealousy like blood in the water. And there is nothing less seductive to a woman of power than a man who is small enough to be threatened by her history. Let's go deeper, into the skin, into the breath, into the way she moves when the lights are low and the world outside her door finally stops screaming. If you think the physical reality of an older woman is the same as the frantic, performance-based energy of a girl in her 20s, you are tragically mistaken. There is a brutal honesty in her touch that most men aren't ready to meet. With a younger woman, it's often about the show. It's about the angles, the validation, the am I doing this right? But with her, she isn't performing for you. She is experiencing you. She has spent decades in her own body. She knows every curve, every trigger, every shadow. She doesn't need you to tell her she's beautiful. She already decided she was years ago, or she's long since stopped caring about your opinion on the matter. This makes her dangerous, because when a woman doesn't need your validation, you lose your primary weapon of control. Have you ever felt the weight of a woman who is completely comfortable in her own skin? It is heavy, it is grounded, it is intentional. When she touches you, it isn't a nervous exploration. It's a command. She knows exactly where the tension lives in your shoulders. She knows the difference between a man who is trying to be dominant and a man who simply is. The brutal reality. She will see your performance. She will smell the effort. If you are trying to impress her in the bedroom, she will feel the distance between your ego and your soul. And nothing turns a woman of depth off faster than a man who is thinking about himself while he's inside her world. She wants your presence, your raw, unadorned, quiet presence. She wants to see if you can handle the slow burn. Most men are in such a hurry to finish, a hurry to prove their stamina, a hurry to move on to the next thing. But she understands that the most intense pleasure lies in the spaces between the movements. In the way you look at her when you think she isn't looking, in the way your hand lingers on the small of her back, in the way you breathe when she finally lets her guard down. But here is the edge of the blade, the part that will haunt you, because she is more experienced, she is more discerning, she has had the best, she has had the worst, she has seen it all. You are competing with a lifetime of memories. And if you aren't willing to be vulnerable, truly dangerously vulnerable, you will just be another footnote in her history. Another night she barely remembers. Does that hurt? Good. Let it. Because that hurt is the only thing that will wake you up. You have to realize that to satisfy a woman who has everything, you have to give her the only thing she can't give herself. A reflection of her own depth. She wants to be met, not managed, not handled, met. She wants to know that when she looks into your eyes, she isn't looking into a mirror of her own strength, but into a fire that can actually warm her. Most men are just mirrors. They reflect her power back at her because they're too scared to have any of their own. Don't be a mirror, be the fire. But let's talk about the aftermath. The morning after, the illusion breaks, because that is where the real brutality begins. Now we step out of the bedroom and into the cold grey light of the world, because the brutal reality of loving a woman who has already lived a lifetime is that she doesn't come to you as a blank page. She is a library, and some of those books are stained with blood and tears you will never understand. You think you're ready for her past, you think you're modern enough to not care. You're lying to yourself. Every time her phone pings and it's a name from a decade ago, every time she looks at a certain street corner and her eyes go distant, mourning a version of herself that existed before you were even a thought in your mother's mind, that is the weight of her history. And it is a weight you have to carry alongside her without ever asking her to put it down. And then there is the world. The world doesn't like you. It doesn't understand why a man in his prime would choose a woman who has already seen the sunset. They will whisper, your friends will make jokes behind your back, crude, shallow jokes that reveal their own fear. Your family, they will look at her with a polite, frozen smile, wondering why you aren't building a future with someone who can give you 30 years of fertility and naivety. Can you stand in that fire? Or will you flinch when the questions start? It's because she is watching. She has been judged by experts. She has been discarded by men who were just passing through. If she sees even a flicker of shame in your eyes when you introduce her to your world, she will leave you before the night is over. She has no room for a man who is embarrassed by her elegance. She has no time for a man who needs the approval of his peers more than he needs the heat of her soul. The brutality is that you have to be a king to stand beside her, not because she needs a protector, but because she needs a peer. A man who is so secure in his own skin that the whispers of the world sound like static on a dead radio. But let's talk about the most brutal part of all. The part that keeps men up at night when they realize they've actually fallen in love. The biological reality, the clock, if you want the white picket fence, the 3 children, starting from scratch story, you are in the wrong place. To love her is to accept that your forever might look very different than the one they show in the movies. It is a love built on the now. It is a love that understands that time is a predator and she has already felt its teeth. Can you love a woman for who she is even if she can't give you a legacy? Or is your ego so tied to your potential that you can't appreciate the masterpiece standing right in front of you? Most men, they realize too late that they are too small for this kind of love. They realize they want the easy path, the girl they can lead, the girl who doesn't challenge their worldview. Is that you? Are you just another boy looking for a place to hide? Because if you stay, if you truly decide to walk this path, the rewards are beyond anything you've ever imagined. If you've heard these words and you didn't turn away, if you felt your pulse quicken instead of your ego shrinking, then perhaps you are the rare man she has been waiting for. But don't just take my word for it. Look at your life. Look at the women you've been chasing. Are you looking for a mirror or are you looking for a fire? If you want to understand how to truly master the art of presence, how to be the man who doesn't just date, but actually commands the room, stay with me, subscribe, turn the notifications, because we are only just beginning to peel back the layers of what it means to be a man in a world of powerful women. Go now, look her in the eye, and don't you dare blink, Gemini said. Let's talk about her silence, because her silence is not an absence of thought, it is a presence of power. When a younger woman is upset, she often gives you noise, she gives you tears, she gives you explanations, she gives you a map of her heart so you can find your way back to her. She wants you to fix it, she wants to be heard. But a woman of experience, her silence is a fortress. When she stops talking to you, it isn't because she's pouting, it's because she is evaluating. She is sitting in the quiet, watching you scramble to fill the air, and she is asking herself one brutal, cold question: is he worth the energy it takes to argue? Do you understand how devastating that is, to be deemed not even worth the breath of a disagreement? Most men, when faced with this silence, they panic, they start to apologize for things they haven't even done, they start to perform, they become the boy again, dancing for her attention, desperate to break the quiet, and in that moment, you have lost her, because when you panic in her silence, you prove to her that you cannot hold your own weight. You prove that your emotional state is dependent on her approval. And to a woman who has already raised children or managed teams or built a life, the last thing she wants is another person she has to manage. emotionally. If you want to survive the silence of an older woman, you have to learn to sit in it. You have to be able to look at her across the room while the air is thick with the unspoken. And you have to be able to breathe, to stay grounded, to show her that while you value her, you are not destroyed by her distance. That is the only thing that will bring her back to the table. The realization that she has met a man who is as comfortable in the quiet as she is, and then there is the argument itself, the brutal reality of the conflict. You cannot win an argument with her using logic alone, and you certainly cannot win it using emotion. She has seen every move in the book. She knows when you're gaslighting. She knows when you're projecting, and she knows when you're just plain scared. An argument with her isn't about who is right. It's a test of your integrity. She will push you, not because she's crazy, she's far past that, but because she needs to know if your backbone is made of steel or straw. She will challenge your boundaries. She will question your motives. She will strip away your excuses until there is nothing left but the truth of who you are in that moment. And if you lie, if you bend the truth to save your ego, she will smell the rot in you. And the door to her heart will click shut so quietly you won't even hear it happen until you realize you're standing in the hallway alone. The seduction of the conflict is in the resolution. It's in the moment you stand your ground, not with anger, but with a terrifyingly calm clarity, when you can say, I hear you, but this is where I stand, without flinching. In that moment, she doesn't see a competitor, she sees a partner. She sees a man who can actually handle the storm that she carries inside her. Do you see the pattern yet? Everything about this woman is designed to filter out the weak. Her age, her past, her money, her silence, they are all guardians at the gate of a kingdom you are trying to enter. Most men will tell you she's difficult. Most men will tell you she's intimidating. But intimidating is just the word small men use for women who have standards they can't meet. She isn't difficult, she is simply expensive. And I'm not talking about her taste in jewelry, I'm talking about the cost to your soul. To be with her, you have to give up the luxury of being a boy. You have to trade your masks for your skin. Are you willing to pay the price, or are you starting to realize that the brutal reality is more than you bargained for? Let's talk about the secret she never tells you, the loneliness behind the successful career, the curated home, and the don't need anyone armor. There is a specific kind of grief that lives in a woman of depth. It's the grief of being constantly misunderstood, of being looked at but never truly seen, of being a woman that men are proud to have on their arm but too cowardly to have in their soul. She has spent years being the strong one, the one who figures it out, the one who survives. And the most brutal reality of all is that most men walk into her life looking for a place to rest their heads without ever realizing she might need a place to rest hers too. When you find that crack in her armor, and you will, if you stay present, don't try to fix it, don't try to solve her, just be there, to be the man who can hold her hand while she's strong, but also hold her spirit when she's tired of being the masterpiece. That is the ultimate seduction. That is where the chase ends and the legacy begins. You came here looking for the brutal reality. You wanted to know what every man needs to know, and now you have it. It is not about her age. It is not about the years on her birth certificate. It is about the depth of her ocean. You can choose to stay on the shore playing in the shallow waves with those who are still learning to swim. It's safe there, it's easy, it's predictable. Or you can dive. You can be the man who isn't afraid of the pressure, the dark, or the absolute terrifying beauty of a woman who knows exactly who she is. It will break you, it will change you, and it will be the most exquisite thing you ever do. The choice, as always, is yours. But remember, a woman like this doesn't happen twice. If you see her, if you recognize her, do not let your fear be the reason she stays a mystery. If this journey into the depths of the feminine psyche has resonated with you, if you feel the shift in your own perspective, then I invite you to join this circle, subscribe to the channel, let these truths sink into your bones, share this with a man who is currently drowning in the shallow end, and leave a comment below with the word presence. If you are ready to stop playing games and start living the reality, thank you for giving me your time, and more importantly, for giving yourself the permission to hear the truth. Until next time, stay grounded, stay deep.